Hello, everyone. I welcome you all to the second season of the Masterclass series. This season, we are exploring the different features of ServiceDesk Plus that can help you deliver a seamless experience in your organization. So far, we have seen how you can build dynamic templates, how you can configure no-code automations, how you can build graphical lifecycles and workflows, and we have also seen how you can integrate Service Desk Plus with the Microsoft ecosystem. Today is the fifth and the final episode of this season, and we are going to explore the latest features that we have in Service Desk Plus. Before we start the session, let me introduce myself. I'm Nisha Ravi, and I'll be the trainer for today's webinar. Please confirm whether my screen is visible and whether I'm audible to you. And with that, we will go ahead with today's session. Meanwhile, you can download the handouts for today's session from the left-hand pane on your screen. They contain the list of all the features that we will talk about in today's masterclass. Thank you for sending in your confirmation. Now let's jump right into the presentation. Here are a few housekeeping items for today's webinar. All the attendee lines are muted by default. You can use the questions panel that is available on the left-hand side of your screen to send your questions for this webinar. At the end of today's masterclass, we have a dedicated Q&A during which our product experts will answer all your questions. We will also send a recording of today's masterclass to your registered email ID in the next couple of days, so do watch out for that. For any other question or feedback about today's episode, or if you have any question about Service Desk Plus, you can drop a mail to my email ID, which is visible on the screen, and you can also write to hello@servicedeskplus.com. I'm sure that all of you are familiar with Zia, which is Zoho's very own AI-based assistant. We have spoken about the various capabilities of we have spoken about Zia in our second episode, which is about configuring automations. We spoke about Zia's AI capabilities, how you can use Zia's features to predict the ticket parameters, how Zia can suggest actions for various scenarios, and a lot more. We hope that you are using the extended capabilities of Zia to increase and improve the efficiency of your service desk. Do let us know how Zia is helping you in your organization and what kind of features or improvements that you would like to see in Zia in the future. So do take part in the small and quick survey that we have about Zia's capabilities, and you can use the link that is displayed on your screen. The link will also be available in the chat section, so please do take part in this short survey about Zia's capabilities. Let's have a brief overview of today's agenda. As I said earlier, we will talk about all the latest features that we have in Service Desk Plus. We'll see how you can resolve requests using time-based actions. We will also see how you can structure the change process in your organization using the enhancements that are available in change workflows by creating tasks, executing custom functions, enabling time-based actions, and so on. We will also explore how you can deploy different changes to your production environment by using a parallel testing environment, which is the sandbox feature. We will also deal with creating an effective communication channel between you and your stakeholders in the organization by designing custom announcement banners. We will also find out how you can quantify the resource requirements of your end users. And finally, we will also see how you can reflect the theme of your organization in the self-service portal for your end users. Before we start talking about the list of features that we have for today, let me remind you that we have a fictional company called Zilker, which we use in our every webinar and in our presentations to explain the various ITSM scenarios and use cases that organizations generally face when they handle ITSM practices on a daily basis. So now that we have introduced Zilker and we know that the agenda of today, we have spoken about the agenda of today's session, let us start talking about the entire list of enhancements that we have for today. To get a better idea of the other enhancements, you can go through our release notes, which is available on our website. So the first feature that we have for today is the time-based actions to handle requests. Zilker faced a peculiar challenge. Zilker was able to automate different actions based on certain conditions, but it could not it could not automate actions based on certain time-based conditions. So let's see how Zilker was able to automate different actions at specific times and also perform time-delayed actions using the timer actions which are available to handle requests. Right now, I'm the technician view, and let me take you to the request module. This is the request list view. Let us open one of the requests that an end user has raised to request for an asset. Now, under the history tab, you can see that the time-based action has already been initiated, and Zilker has used the timer actions to send notifications at frequent to send notifications at a certain frequency to keep reminding the technician to start acting on the asset request. Now let's see how you can configure such time-based actions from the backend. You can do that by going to Setup, and under Automations, you can go to Triggers. Now, time-based actions are available for both requests as well as changes. You can configure time-based actions for requests using triggers, and you can do the same for changes using triggers as well as workflows. Now, let's see one of the triggers that we have configured for Zilker's use case. As you know, triggers are condition-based actions, which means that these actions would be executed if certain conditions are met. Let's say that the end user is going to use the asset request template to request for any gadget that the end users may require. Now, using triggers, you can perform different kinds of actions like executing custom functions, creating tasks, and a lot more. The enhancement that we have in ServiceDesk Plus is that you can perform time-based actions using triggers. Now, Zilker wants to keep reminding their technicians to immediately start acting on the asset request. Now, let's see how you can configure these time-based actions. Under Automations, you can go to Custom Actions and navigate to the Timers pane. Under the Timers tab, let us open the timer action that we have configured for Zilker's use case. You can fill in the necessary details like giving the name for a timer, giving the description, and so on. You can also start configuring the wait timer based on your requirements. You can provide the wait time manually by specifying the number of days, the hours, and so on. You can also choose to factor in the site operational hours, or you can also go with the SLA hours. You can also pause the wait timer if your request is put on hold. In case you would like to configure your wait timer based on a certain date field, you can choose to go with the entire duration of the selected date field, or you can trigger the wait time based on a certain number of days, either before or after the selected date field. You can also choose to go by a certain percentage of the date field. So you can choose to trigger the wait timer for a certain percentage from a particular start date to an end date. And you can also configure the wait time based on certain conditions. These conditions would be matched based on the conditions that you have set in the triggers automation. Now, if the timer is running based on certain conditions, the timer will keep running until the abort timer conditions are matched. Now, once the timer starts running in the background, you can execute different levels of actions. You can execute up to 4 levels of actions, and for every level, you can perform 5 different types of actions. Now, to start execution of every level, you can specify the timer. You can specify the time at which the execution of the level should start, and you can also set the required periodicity and frequency for every level. And as I said earlier, you can perform 5 different actions. You can send out timely notifications, run a custom function, update the fields of your request or your incident, and you can also create tasks for handling your requests, and you can also initiate a webhook. Now, in Zilker's use case, Zilker has configured a notification to keep sending timely reminders to its technicians to start acting on their asset requests. And this is what we saw just some time back, right? And let's say that you want to trigger a custom function. If the request is closed, you can configure a custom function, which is a low code solution from Zoho, to make all the nodes public. And if you want to update a ticket in your Jira environment, you can trigger a webhook for the same. Now, after executing one level of action, you can proceed to the next level of actions by setting the timer for starting the execution of the next level. Now, let's say that after Zilker has sent out timely notifications in its first level of actions, Zilker wants to update the field of the incoming ticket. Let's say that Zilker has updated the urgency of the asset request, and this will keep reminding the technician that they have to start working on their incoming asset request. So you can initiate the execution of the second level after the completion of the first level by setting the starting time right away. You can also set the required frequency for every level. So you like this, you can perform you can execute up to 4 levels of actions, and you can perform 5 different types of actions for every level. You can abort the timer whenever certain conditions are matched. You can choose the various ticket parameters right here and give the required value right here. In Zilker's use case, Zilker wants to abort the timer if the request is resolved or if the request has been closed. You can also perform different types of actions when the timer is aborted. You can send out a notification, run a custom function, update the fields of your ticket, and so on. You can also choose to clear the timer on the request closure automatically by enabling this checkbox. So this is how Zilker was able to configure time-based actions to handle all their incoming requests. We saw how Zilker was able to handle all their incoming requests effectively by using time-based actions. We saw how Zilker was able to configure the how Zilker was able to configure the waiting time by either providing the time manually or using the date field and so on. We also saw how Zilker was able to execute different levels of actions and perform different types of actions for every level, like sending out notifications, running custom functions, triggering a webhook, and so on. We also saw how Zilker was able to abort the timer whenever certain conditions were matched. The next feature that we have in place is we will see how Zilker is able to handle all the change processes in its organization using the enhancements that are available in change workflows. Zilker faced another hurdle when it wanted to implement different change processes in its organization. Zilker was able to send approval notifications automatically. It was also able to notify different stakeholders using its change workflows. But when it comes to adding tasks, it had to do it manually. And it also could not trigger time based actions at certain points across its entire change workflow. It also could not create parallel paths to trigger different actions simultaneously. Now, let's see how Zilker was able to use the enhancements that are available in the change workflow to overcome all these hurdles. Right now, I'm in the technician view, and let me take you to the change module. Let's say that Zilker wants to change its payroll application from Zilker Books to Zilker Payroll, and it also wants to enable the multi-factor authentication. Using ServiceDesk Plus, you can perform 8 stages of change process, starting right from the submission stage till the closure stage. Now, this is the change process that Zilker has configured for its use case. You can also view the workflow that is associated with this change process. As you can see, the UI of the change workflow has been changed completely, and this green path actually highlights the path that has been taken by the change workflow. Now, let us see how you can configure such detailed change workflows from the technician's perspective. So you can access change workflows by going to Setup And under automations, you can go to workflows. Let me open the workflow that we have for Zilker's use case. The enhancements that we have for in ServiceDesk Plus for change workflows is that we have a new condition node called the wait for node. Let me just simply drag and drop this node on the canvas. You can see that you can configure certain conditions for the wait for condition node. You can pause the workflow at a certain time till the condition is satisfied. You can choose any of the parameters for the change process that is available in the application and give the required value so that the change workflow is paused till these conditions are met. And you can also perform a new set of actions in the change workflow. You can add a task, you can trigger a webhook, you can execute a custom function, and you can also add time-based actions. Using the branch node, you can create parallel paths by using the fork node, and you can merge multiple parallel paths by using the join node. Now let's see how Zilker has used all these additional capabilities to structure its change process. Now, after the change has been submitted, Zilker will use the condition node to check whether this change process is going to impact its entire business. If this condition is satisfied, an approval will be triggered in the first submission stage. Then the change process will proceed to the planning stage. Zilker has used the wait for condition node to check whether it has all the vital details in place. For example, Zilker wants to see if the reason for the change has been captured. Now, once Zilker has the essential details in place, Zilker has actually used the wait for condition node to pause the workflow. So once these essential details are in place and once these conditions are satisfied, the change workflow will trigger an approval process automatically for the planning stage. Then the change workflow will be directed to the CAB evaluation stage. As I said, Zilker has used the enhancements that are available in the change workflow. Zilker has used the fork node to create two parallel paths, and Zilker has triggered approval. Zilker has used the fork node to trigger two parallel approval processes right away. That is, Zilker has triggered the approval mechanism. Zilker wants to gain the approval from the technical cab as well as the business cab simultaneously to expedite the change process. So you can do that by simply simply giving a name for the fork node. And once these parallel paths have been executed, that is, once both these cabs have given their approval process, Zilker has used the join node to merge both these parallel paths. So you can configure a join node by simply giving the required name, and you can complete the join when all the fork paths are complete or when at least one of the fork path is complete. Now, when both the cab teams have given their approval process, Zilker will use the join node to merge these parallel paths, and a common output is obtained. Now, after the CAB evaluation stage, the change process proceeds to the implementation stage. Zilker has used the switch node to create a multi-directional pathway within its change process. And Zilker has also used the enhancement called the task node to trigger tasks automatically within the change workflow. Let us see how you can configure a task within a change workflow. Let me just edit the task that we have in place. Here you can see that you can give the task the required name, the description, and so on. You can map the task to the different stages of the change that are available in ServiceDesk Plus. After filling in the necessary details like the title, the description, and so on, you can also assign the group and the technician who will be handling your change task. You can also set the priority, the additional cost, the task type, and so on. You can wait for the completion of the task, and you can also set up an alternative path to ensure that the application does not throw an error. Now, for Zilker's use case, as Zilker wants to upgrade or change its payroll application to Zilker, it has triggered a task to migrate all the existing data. Once the task has been completed, the change process will proceed to the UAT stage. And Zilker has used the timer node to ensure that it has all the details in place. So the timer node, that is the time-based actions that are available for a change process, are very much similar to the ones that we saw to handle requests. So you can create a time node by configuring different types of wait timers. You can you can either provide the details manually, you can choose a required date field, or you can choose to run the timer based on certain conditions. And you can also configure different types of actions for which have to be executed at different levels. Let's say that Zilker wants to send timely notifications about the UAT process being initiated, and Zilker wants to abort the timer when the UAT description has been fulfilled. So Zilker has used the timer node to ensure that the UAT description details have been captured, and once these details are in place, the change process will move ahead, and an approval will be triggered for the UAT stage. And once all these stages have been completed, the application will be released, and a review process will also be initiated, and Zilker will ensure that the change process is completed successfully. So we have seen that Zilker has used the enhancements like the wait for node, addition of task, creating a custom function, triggering a webhook, initiating time-based actions, and also using the branch nodes like fork and join to structure and streamline its entire change process. You can initiate interaction with third-party applications using webhook. Let's say that if you want to update a change in your Jira environment, you can do that using the webhook. And you can also execute low code automations using the custom function. So let's go back to the change process, and let's see how all of this executes. Now we see that the change process is in the cab evaluation stage, and Zilker has triggered the approval process to both the business cab and the technical cab. Let's grant the required approval, and we see that the change process will proceed to the implementation stage. You can track the entire change process by going to the workflow tab that is visible here. You can see that both the paths have been triggered, and Zilker has used the join node to produce a common output, and the change process will be directed to the implementation stage. So going back, under the cab evaluation stage, the approval has been granted and the change process has gone to the implementation stage. So like this, Zilker was able to use the enhancements that are available in ServiceDesk Plus to streamline its entire change process. We saw how Zilker was able to create time-based actions and how Zilker was able to automate different tasks within its change workflow. We also saw how Zilker was able to create parallel paths using the branch node and also merge them using the join node. And how Zilker was able to initiate interactions with third-party application using webhooks. The next feature that we have in place is the sandbox environment in ServiceDesk Plus. Zilker wanted to deploy multiple changes simultaneously to its production environment, but this led to a lot of interference and disruptions to its critical infrastructure. Let's see how Zilker was able to use the sandbox feature available in ServiceDesk Plus to create an isolated testing environment and configure different changes to its production environment. So right now I'm in the technician view, and this is the setup page. You can access the sandbox environment by going to data administration and clicking on sandbox. The sandbox will mirror all your admin configurations that are available in your production environment. You can track the list of all the changes that have been made in your sandbox under the configurations list tab. And here you can see that you can keep a tab on all the actions that have been performed, where these changes have been where these changes have taken place, when these changes were executed, and who is responsible for all these changes. You can also check the entire history of deployment from the deployment history tab, and you can also check the summary of the entire deployment from your sandbox. And you can also import users into your sandbox environment by using the actions tab. Here you can select the individual users and click on import to import all those users who have been added to your production environment after the sandbox has been initiated. Technicians can access the sandbox from here, and other users can access the sandbox from the left hand pane that is visible on your screen. Here, the sandbox label shows that this service desk instance is available in your sandbox environment. Now, let's see how Zilker was able to use the sandbox feature by jumping right into the sandbox environment. The sandbox environment will open in a parallel tab. Now, let me go to the setup page, and let us see all the configurations that are available in the sandbox environment. As you can see, you can deploy different changes to all the configurations that are visible here. So if you want to make changes to your instance configuration, if you want to change your templates and forms, if you want to experiment with your automations and so on, you can access all these features right within the sandbox environment. And you have another tab called the deployable configurations tab. So you can test different configurations under the All Configurations tab, but you can deploy those configurations that are listed right here. So let's see how Zilker used the sandbox environment to deploy different changes to its production environment effectively. Now let's say that Zilker wants to add a new department. Let's say that Zilker wants to add a new department called the marketing team. And let me just give the necessary details, and let me click on save. Like this, Zilker can use the sandbox environment to make changes to different configurations that are available in this application. Now, let's say that Zilker wants to test another change in one of its automations. Let's say that Zilker wants to make a change to its a network incident business rule. And Zilker wants to direct all its incoming incidents to a particular technician. So let's start updating the technician field, and let's say that Tom is going to handle all the incoming incidents which are related to network. And let me just go ahead and click on save. You can track all the changes that have taken place in the sandbox environment by going to your original production environment. Now, under the configuration list tab, you can see that the changes that have been made in the sandbox environment are visible right here. You can also compare the configurations between your sandbox environment and your original production environment. So here you can see that the changes that have been made in the sandbox environment are highlighted as shown below. So here we have added a new detail called the technician field, and you can see that the changes are highlighted right here. So you can compare the configurations that are available in the sandbox as well as your original production environment. Now, once you have all the changes in place, you can select the individual configurations that you want to deploy to your production environment. So let me select the configurations and hit deploy. Now, the application will start validating all the configurations and let you deploy all the changes safely to your production environment. Now, once you click on deploy, it will also show the status of the deployment, and you can also check the entire deployment history by using the deployment history tab. And in case your deployments have some kind of an error, you can immediately rectify them, and you can make the necessary changes, and you can ensure that all your deployments are successful. So coming back, We saw how Zilker was able to create a parallel testing environment using the sandbox feature. We also saw how Zilker was able to keep track of all the changes that are made in the sandbox and where these changes were executed, who is responsible for all these changes, and so on. We also saw how Zilker was able to compare the configurations between the sandbox environment and the original production environment. We also understood that ServiceDesk Plus can validate the changes that are being made in your sandbox environment, and you can also rectify invalid configurations to ensure that all the configurations that are deployed to your original environment are successful. The next feature that we have in place is the custom announcement banners. Let's see how Zilker was able to use the custom announcement banners feature available in Service Desk Plus to communicate effectively with all the stakeholders in its organization. Right now, I'm in the self-service portal, and the custom announcement banners would appear on the top of the application. As you can see, you can give the required background colors that you want. You can customize the alignment, and you can also choose the icon that you want to be displayed right here. Now, let's see how you can configure all these custom banners right now. So right now I'm in the technician view, and you can go to the home tab and access the announcements from there. Let me open one of the announcements that Zilker has already configured. Let's say that Zilker wants to publish an organization-wide announcement about its multi-factor authentication. Now you can give the required title and the description for the announcement. You can also schedule the announcement from a certain start date to an end date. You can capture the priority of the announcement and also specify the services that will be involved regarding this announcement. You can email individual users, and you can also control the accessibility of this announcement by either sharing it with only technicians, or you can enable all the users in your organization to have a look at the announcement, and you can also loop in certain user groups to access the announcement. And by enabling the display banner checkbox, you can start customizing the look and feel of your announcement. And by going with the custom style, you can choose the required background color that you want. You can also choose the choice. You can also go with the color of your choice for your text. You can control the alignment of the text that is visible on the banner, and you can also select the icons that are available right out of the box in the application. You can also get a preview of the announcement banners, and once you have customized the announcement banners according to your requirements, you can click on save. And this is how the announcement banners will be visible to everyone and all the stakeholders in your organization. So, coming back, we saw how Zilker was able to design custom banners to send the message right across to all the stakeholders in their organization. We saw how you can choose the background colors according to your requirements, how you can control the alignment of the text that is displayed on the custom announcement banners, and how you can style the announcement banners by selecting an icon of your choice. The next feature that we have in place is how certain enhancements to the resource information, and we will also see how you can expedite the approval process mechanism while handling service requests. Zilker had another peculiar issue when it was handling different service requests that the end users raised. Zilker was unable to quantify the resource requirements of their end users. And also, Zilker had a lot of redundant approval mechanisms in place, and because of which the service delivery was delayed a lot. Now, let's see how Zilker was able to use the enhancements that are available in the service request to ensure that the service delivery process is carried out effectively. So right now I am in the self-service portal and I'm logged in as the end user. Let's say that I require certain assets like a laptop, a mobile, and so on. So let me go ahead and raise an asset request for the same. This is the service catalog of Zilker. Now, right now, as I require certain gadgets, Let me use the asset request form and place a service request for the same. So let me say that I require a laptop, a mobile, and certain other hardware peripherals. Now, as and when I select the resources that I want, you can see that the quantity field is displayed right beside the resource. And let me say that I require two magic trackpads, two magic mouse, and so on. So, as an end user, I can select the required quantity of the resources that I want, and I can choose the required quantity, and I can go ahead and submit the request. Now, as and when I update the quantity, you can also see that the same is reflected in the resource cost details. So now that I have specified my requirements, let me go ahead and submit this service request. Now, you saw that how easy it is for the end users to specify the quantity of the resources that they require, right? And you can mention all these granular details right when you're raising a service request, right when you're filling the service request form, and you can do that. You can do all of that from your self-service portal. Now, let's go back to the technician view and see how all of this appears from a technician's perspective. So let me take you to the request module. And this is the service request that the end user has raised to convey their requirements to the service desk. Now, under the details tab, you can see that the requirements of all the requirements of the end user has been captured in a detailed manner. So the technician would know the amount of resources that are required to fulfill this service request. And also under the approvals tab, you can see that the approval has been granted automatically. This is because the requester is also configured as the approver. And this is how Zilker was able to expedite the approval mechanism. Now let's see how you can configure all of this from the backend. You can do that by going to setup, and you can go to templates and forms and click on service category. Let me open one of the templates that we already have in place. So this is the service request template that the end user has accessed to request for the required gadgets that they need to be productive in their organization. By navigating to the resource information section, you can see that a whole lot of resource information questions are available in this tab. So you can capture the required quantity by using different kinds of question types. We have explored all the templates which are available to handle incidents, services, and so on in our very first episode of the second season. So you can watch that video on our YouTube channel. And you can also access the same on our website. So you can set the maximum quantity by either using the single option or by enabling the multiple option. When you do that, you can set the maximum quantity up to which your end users can give their inputs. So you can select the maximum, you can set the quantity type for when you configure the checkbox type questions as well as the select box type questions. Now, we saw that Zilker had structured its approval mechanism, right? The enhancements that we have to handle approvals will help Zilker to expedite all their approval processes. By using simple toggle switches, you can automatically send approval notifications. You can show the approval status to your requesters and so on. You can also set certain approval rules which are visible on your screen. You can choose to go with anyone to approve, or you can ensure that everyone approves the service request, or you can choose to go with the first response action, or you can ensure that a majority of your team gives their approval, or you can also choose to go with a certain percentage to approve the incoming service request. And apart from that, you can also mandate the approval comments. Let's say that as an end user, you have a permission to grant approvals to all the requests that are to certain categories of requests that are raised in the service desk. Now, before granting the approval, you can see that the approval comments have been mandated. So let me just say that I'm going to approve this request and I will go ahead and approve it. Now, by mandating the approval comments, you can ensure that you have a better documentation process in place so that it creates transparency in your organization. We also saw that Zilker was able to remove redundant approval mechanisms, right? Now, let's see the other enhancements that are available to handle your approval mechanism. You can, under setup, you can go to general settings and go to advanced portal settings. Now, under the request approval settings, you can mandate the approval comments for requests, and you can automatically approve requests if the requester and the approver are the same person. And you can also approve those requests which have been approved by the same approver in the earlier stages. So by enabling these additional features for handling approvals, Zilker was able to deliver all their services right on time. So coming back, we saw how Zilker was able to capture and measure the resource requirements from their end users. We also saw how Zilker was able to expedite their approval processes by configuring a certain approval rules, and we also saw how Zilker was able to document their approval mechanism by mandating comments for approvals. We also explored how Zilker was able to grant approvals for different service requests if the end user is also configured as the approver. The next feature that we are going to talk about is the customization of the self-service portal for your requesters. This is the last feature that we have for today. Zilker faced another major hurdle when it wanted to ensure that the self-service portal is adopted by their end users in an effective manner. This is because Zilker could not reflect the theme of its organization while designing its self-service portal. Now let's see how Zilker was able to use the advancements that are available in the advancements that are available when they were customizing their self-service portal to reflect the look and feel of their organization. So right now, as you can see, this is the self-service portal and I'm logged in as the end user. You can see that Zilker has designed the background and the template, and Zilker has totally changed the look and feel of their self-service portal. And apart from that, Zilker has also empowered their end users to access third-party websites right from their self-service portal. You can see that when I click on the Visit Community button, the entire knowledge base on the ManageEngine pit stop is available. And Zilker has also shown different details like the number of requests that are closed, the number of requests that are on hold, and so on. And end users can also get quick information like the entire list of their completed requests and so on. Zilker has also displayed different kinds of widgets. So their end users can access announcements from their self-service portal, and they can also have a tab on the assets that are associated with them and report an issue right away. So let's see how you can customize such intuitive self-service portals from the technician's perspective. So right now I'm in the technician view, and you can go to setup, and under general settings you can go to requester portal settings. By navigating to the requester portal customization, you can start using the advanced features that are available in ServiceDesk Plus to configure your self-service portal. Now, here you can see that a lot of templates are available right out of the box. You can either choose to use them, or you can also create one right from scratch. So here you can see that you have a lot of elements that are visible on the left hand side, using which you can start customizing your self-service portal. Let's say that you want to customize a self-service portal for your IT help desk. So you can choose the templates that are available in the application, or you can also upload your own templates. So let's say that I'm going to use the template that is available right now, And you can start customizing the look and feel of your self-service portal right away. You can simply drag and drop the elements that are visible on the left hand pane. Let us say that I'm using the panel element. You can by using the panel element, you can display different information like the task count or the number of requests. And you can also choose to display the different kinds of tasks. For example, you can show the number of pending tasks, the tasks that are on hold, and so on. And you can also associate an action by choosing any action like opening a pending task, opening an on hold task, and so on. Now, since we are going to count the number of pending tasks, let us configure all the elements that are required for the same. You can also style this element by giving the certain you can choose the required font right here. You can control the font size, and you can also choose the color of your choice. Now, you can also edit the text that is visible on the panel. Let's say that because you're displaying the number of tasks, you can fill in the necessary details. Let's say that this is going to display my pending task. And you can also choose to associate an action with this text. And you can also customize the appearance of the text by choosing a required color, by controlling the font size, and you can choose the required font style, and so on. Now, apart from adding the required text, you can also add other elements like an icon or a button. Let's say that Zilker wants to add a button to this panel. You can either add a rounded button or a rectangular button. You can customize the appearance of this button. So because we are going to display the number of pending tasks, so let's say that the end user can view all their pending tasks by clicking on this button. And you can also associate the required action by going to the Actions tab. So right now, I'm going to associate the Open Pending Task action with this button. You can also customize the appearance of this button by going to the Style tab. Similar to the other configurations, you can choose the required font type. You can also choose the required color, and so on. You can also add other elements like this placeholder symbol to ensure that your end users can search for anything that they require. And once that is done, you can add the panel to your self-service portal, and all of this does not require any type of coding. All these elements are simple drag and drop features, and you literally require no expertise to customize the self-service portal. You can also add widgets like announcements and assets widget from the list tab. And by using the snippet feature, you can ensure that your end users have access to third-party websites by simply embedding the iframe code on your self-service portal. So this is how you can use all the advancements to customize the self-service portal according to the theme of your organization. Now, once you have the required settings in place, you can go ahead and save this customization and also set this as the home page of your requester portal. So coming back, we saw how Zilker was able to design and customize their self-service portal by using the enhancements that are available in ServiceDesk Plus. We saw that it is a simple drag and drop canvas where you literally require no kind of coding or scripting to reflect the look and theme of your organization on the self-service portal. We saw how you can simply drag and drop panel elements, how you can associate different actions to the elements, and how you can add different widgets from the list tab. And we also saw how end users can access third-party websites by using the snippets feature. So before we end today's session, let's have a quick recap. We saw how Zilker is able to handle all their incoming requests by configuring time-based actions. We also saw how Zilker is able to structure its entire change governance process by using the enhancements to their change workflows to add a task automatically, to again create time based actions to handle changes, to trigger webhooks so that the change process, so that the application can interact with other third party applications. And we also saw how Zilker was able to deploy different changes to its production environment by creating a parallel environment using the sandbox feature. And we also saw how Zilker was able to communicate effectively with all the stakeholders in its organization by designing custom announcement banners. And we also saw how Zilker was able to handle all their incoming service requests by capturing the quantity of the resources that their end users need. And we also understood and, in fact, discussed about the enhancements that we have to handle approval mechanisms in a better way. And finally, we saw how Zilker was able to reflect the look and feel of its organization's theme by using various enhancements like panels, buttons, lists, snippets, and a lot more to start building their end user self service portal in the no code way. If you'd like to learn more about ServiceDesk Plus, you can visit our admin guide and also go through the release notes. You can also watch our previous masterclass videos by visiting our YouTube channel. You can interact with the peers of our industry by visiting the ManageEngine Pit Stop community. You can reach out to our support team by using the link that is visible on your screen. If you have any questions, please feel free to write to us at hello@servicedeskplus.com. And thank you so much for joining today's session. I hope you gained a lot of insights from this webinar. And with this episode, we have come to the final conclusion of the second season of the Masterclass series. Thank you so much for being a wonderful audience, and we hope to see you again with the same vigor next year.